Welcome back to the GTN show, our first of 2024. Happy New Year, everyone.
Oh yeah, we are fresh and ready to go. We've had a couple of weeks off from the show, so there's lots to catch up on and lots of news from the athletes too.
Yeah, we're also going to be discussing the craziness of the 2024 pro race schedule. Is it simply getting too busy and just too hard to follow? Right, kicking off with Reacts, but before we jump into that, just want to shout out about our Zwift 30 and 30 that is going on this month. 30 and 30, 30 minutes of exercise for 30 days of January. We're encouraging you all to get stuck in, and to help you in doing so, we are going to be running some events, activities on Zwift for each of those days. In fact, I did my first last night at 6:30 p.m. Jumped on for a little ride with everyone, so thanks for joining if you did. And Heather, you're doing it tonight, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, if you've watched this show as soon as it's come out and got in there early, then 6:30 p.m. UK time, you can join me. But don't worry if you've missed me already and you're watching this a bit later, or you've missed Mark. Both, or all three of us are actually going to be leading some sessions over the next 30 days. So keep an eye out. And actually, if you go onto Zwift, you'll be able to look up the GTN Zwift Club and actually find all of those sessions that will be on there waiting for you.
Yeah, just a great way of keeping us all active and motivated.
Getting us started, keeping us on track for this.
It'll be fun.
For this new year, yeah. There's a few athletes who have most certainly stayed on track over the New Year period or over the festivities. There's a couple of records. This first one, it's actually a park run world record. Now, park run did actually originate in the UK, but it is now global, and this has been set by Ciara McGeehan, who ran a 15:13 at the Belfast Park Run. Now, I imagine it must be tarmac because the weather in the UK over Christmas and New Year has been pretty appalling, and our local park runs, you're going to be about a minute slower, aren't you?
I mean, a lot of the park runs, are on trails, mud. I mean, our most local one is significantly off-road, so you definitely wouldn't be running a PB on there.
Still, very fast running.
Yeah, very cool. Also, some very fast running this past weekend in Barcelona for an actual international running event, and it's Beatrice Chebet who actually has run a new world record for the 5K, women's only 5K on the road, a time of 14:13, which is phenomenal. It's smashing the previous record of 14:29, and also actually is better than the mixed women's record, which is still 14:19.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if she then has that. I don't know if
I'm not really sure how it works.
Has that as well, but I mean, incredible running, and that was, I think, New Year's Eve. So what a way to round up the year for her. Awesome stuff. Moving on to a bit more light-hearted posts. Joe Skipper has had a bit of a bit of a grumble at British Triathlon, hasn't he, over the last month or so?
If I'm honest, I've sort of lost track of what's going on. It appears that they are awaiting some payment for his event entry back for, I think it was Ibiza, wasn't it?
Ibiza,
and I mean, he was representing Great Britain as a professional athlete, one of the best long-distance athletes in Britain. And it does seem a little bit ridiculous, if you ask me, that they are making him pay for that and everything. But anyway, as a result, they have loosely said that he wouldn't get his pro licence from British Triathlon if he doesn't pay up the 220 quid or whatever it is, which I'm sure, I'm sure he's happy to pay, but it's just
I think it's the
principle of it. And so then he's made a joke of New Year, New Me, USA baby, and he's running in a Team USA t-shirt, which has fooled a couple of people. But
it's got. I mean, some of the other athletes are joking along with him, and I think seeing the funny side, a few people have been asking about his kit choice and where he's going to be training next year and stuff. So good Joe Skipper to keep things nice and light at this time of year. Yeah.
Also, Sean Conway has started. He's done this previously, but he started up again. His 496 challenge, where you basically run the number of kilometres for the date. So obviously 1st January, 1 kilometre, 2 kilometres, 3 kilometres, and so on and so forth. So in short, that final week is pretty big, totaling obviously 496 kilometres, and he's made medals, so you can go and order your medals in advance and all sorts. So yeah, if you want to get stuck in, you might have got a little bit of catching up to do, but yeah.
I mean, now's the time to do it. I mean, I reckon I could keep up till about the second week, the end of the second week, and then I'd be like, that's probably enough.
I think I'm done with ultra endurance running challenges for a bit. I think James have got a free card on that one. Talking of incentive for running, this one is a slightly different incentive. I actually spotted the post from Runner's World magazine, but it's about a Chinese company, and it says here, in what slightly sounds like a scheme out of the mild Black Mirror episode, a paper company based in Guangdong, China, is now basing bonuses on the number of miles each employee runs per month. To earn an annual bonus worth 130% of their monthly salary, workers must track up 62 miles per month, which comes out to roughly 2 miles per day. Yeah, quite mad. I mean, Mark, you and James would have done pretty well if you'd got a bonus on your miles you ran on that last week. It's quite impressive. I mean, I like the idea, and I can only see positives from it. So, but obviously, trying to stay motivated and keep on that. I mean, hey, it'd be really cool to track and see if other companies jump on and do something similar.
Give a nudge to upstairs.
Yeah. Sadly, we have seen some rather unfortunate news. Firstly, Luisa Baptista, who is a Brazilian athlete, unfortunately was involved in a hit-and-run incident from a motorbike, an unlicensed motorbike, whilst out training. She, obviously was knocked unconscious. She's been in intensive care. We understand that she is recovering okay, but she has suffered multiple fractures as well as some lung injuries, which she's had operations and various things on. So we are sending our thoughts to her and hope she recovers fast. Yeah,
it sounds pretty nasty, but hopefully a quick recovery. Another athlete who's been suffering slightly is Cam Brown, who has actually retired. He retired this summer, didn't he? At the age of 50, which is incredible. But he's just put here, and remember, he actually lives in New Zealand, so he says, well, it's not the usual start to the summer holidays I'm used to. Found out I've been in atrial fibrillation for a while and probably made worse by a severe virus I had in June. Basically, he goes on to say that his heart's being put back to its normal rhythm. He's having a bit of time off, so it might be good to be in the office.
I believe he's having an ablation as well in February, which is kind of a keyhole surgery in the heart. So, again, for speedy recovery and all as well. And then also on to some sponsorship news. Unfortunately, it's always sad to see athletes leaving brands, but hopefully they are then moving on to other brands, and one of which is Ellie Salthouse. She's been with Trek for many, many years. Unfortunately, that is coming to an end, but as she says, time for an exciting new chapter. Also saw that David McNamee, been with Cervelo for many years and has had many very impressive performances, including 2 podium finishes at Ironman World Championships. He, unfortunately, is leaving Cervelo and hasn't hinted as to where he will be moving on to. But while talking of him, I also spotted that he got stuck into the Girona 5K, which I believe is on New Year's Eve, and he actually even ran a PB of 14:52, which is pretty good going for a long-distance athlete.
And also for an athlete, it's sort of at the latter end of his career as well. So he's still got the speed there. Awesome stuff.
Okay, our big topic and talking point this week is the 2024 Pro Triathlon schedule. It's a big year, very exciting in some ways, but also leaves the athletes really struggling to figure out what they do with their schedules and their years to come. So first off, we've obviously got the Ironman Pro Series, which is a bit of a latecomer, a bit of a surprise and very exciting, obviously. We've got a prize pool of $1.7 million, which will be sent out at the end of the year based on points. 200k for first place in each of the races. 18 races over the course of the year, of which the points will be taken from your 5 best performing races, of which a maximum of 3 can be full Ironmans, because obviously they have the highest points. And that is all based on your time from the winner. So it's not necessarily on where you come 15th place, but if you were quite close to the winner, you're going to get pretty good points for it.
Yeah, that's cool to see. Hopefully exciting racing. Then you've got the PTO Tour, which is still a little less clear-cut because they are running this new system this year. So obviously PTO distance we've all become quite familiar with, the 2K swim, the 80K bike, and the 20K run. Well, they are now selecting athletes from the world ranking and inviting them to sign up to be part of this tour. So it'll be the same group of athletes in theory, plus a few wildcards who are going to race this set of races, and then there'll be potentially a world champion at the end of that for this different distance. But we are still waiting to hear the details, and I think some of the athletes were even waiting to hear exactly. So, I mean, for planning for them is pretty tricky.
And I guess the problem arises because there are just so many races. You basically need to commit one way or the other. Of course, some athletes are being given the option of the PTO Tour because that is invite only based on your PTO World Rankings. But even for those guys, do they commit to that or not? Because it's not a case of, with the depth of field these days, that you can bounce between the two. Those that will be winning will be those that have committed fully. So you pretty much have got to commit, put all your eggs in one basket. And as Lionel Sanders has said as well, if you don't do the PTO Tour this year, it might be quite hard to get into it next year as well. So we've got that to consider too.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you mentioning Lionel, because he's already said he doesn't even know what race he's doing yet. So we're sort of left hanging in that sense. There's also, obviously, throwing in the mix, you've got the Challenge Series, which is good prize money. They also have their own ranking within that. So you've got the end of year bonuses. Then there's some separate races which have prize purses like Clash Daytona, Clash Miami, as well as a big race that's more for the kudos, in a sense, of Challenge Roth. Then all of these will also give you PTO rankings, which could be a way to up that ranking to get in, like you said, for next year, and also prize money at the end of the year.
Yeah. As I said, this is fantastic for the sport. It's a wild time as a pro triathlete to be involved in the sport. But it does get a little bit confusing. I mean, even as a big fan of the sport, I'm struggling to follow it all. And that's before we even get onto the short course racing. Of course, we've got the WTCS, the World Triathlon Championship Series racing, Super League, and we've got that rather small event this year, the Olympic Games. Exactly.
And it's interesting that obviously WTCS moved to this almost points format back in 2009, and then having the world champion crowned as a result of the points that they accumulate, even though you have the grand final, isn't necessarily the grand final winner. And it's interesting to see it actually that we're maybe thinking that, does that lose some fans because it's a little bit complicated to follow, and the last few series have been exciting, but we follow the sport day in, day out, but you still didn't really know what's going to happen unless someone breaks down the points for you. Yet the long distance sports or the long distance events are now following in that, and is that the right thing?
Yeah, I mean, I previously, prior to 2009, essentially the WTCS racing series was actually based around World Cups. So World Cups, which happen today, they were the pinnacle of short course racing. The world's best athletes would be at the World Cups, and then they have the World Championships at the very end of the year. Personally, I found that very exciting. I was obviously excited by the WTCS series coming in. It was a new format, but as Heather has said, I'm finding it a little hard to follow, and I'm not necessarily quite as engaged in that. And my fear and worry is that actually now we're adding another 2 or 3 of these series to the calendar. And actually, I'm a big fan of the sport, and particularly even short course racing. This is where I've come from. Even I'm finding it hard to keep track of it and actually get excited about it, because I just don't really know what's going on and I can't keep up with it all. And I worry that as trying to send and promote triathlon to the mass consumer, we're not going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think if you try to explain, someone says, so what is triathlon then? Well, it's in the Olympics, so that's probably how I'd start by describing it. Yet, then who's the best triathlete in the world? Like what? Obviously, we've always had this debate of all the different distances. Yet even within each distance, you now have, is it the Ironman World Champion? Or is it going to be the winner of that tour? Is it the winner of the grand final? Or is it the person who's won the most WTCS races that year? Or is it actually the person who's got the most points and is crowned world champion? So I think to describe it to someone who doesn't get it, and even some of you guys might be going like, what are we on about? And I know we talk about it in race news each week, but it does start to maybe lose that. But then also the actual athletes, which again reflects back on us as spectators, because you're not necessarily going to be seeing the best athletes at every WTCS race because there's too many. And then some of them already know that out of the running by the time it gets to the grand final, because the points are just saying, only 2 or 3 athletes can win if this, and this happens. So that's not necessarily great for getting the best field, which then isn't great for spectating, potentially.
Personally, I mean, looking at other sports, I really enjoy these Grand Slams or majors where I can just watch them individually and get a lot of enjoyment from it, and then maybe not watch any of the others. And I feel like that was quite cool when we had the World Cups and the World Championship. I could just dip into each one here and there. And also, I mean, we're rambling a little bit here, but with the short course athletes, they've got a great opportunity with the PTO racing. It's a really interesting distance where they can come through and show their colours and see how they get on. And I think that would make very exciting racing. But they just can't, because they can't miss a WTCS race.
Yeah.
And vice versa with the long course athletes going into some of the... Yeah.
I mean, again, slightly off tangent, but talking of that, I think next year after the Olympics, it will be interesting to see what happens with the PTO racing, because a lot of those athletes who don't necessarily earn as much see the potential money there. But
well, I hope you guys followed, because we were just waffling there.
I mean, and also, yeah, we were. But hopefully, we will at least know which athletes are going to be focusing on what in a month or two's time, when everything is clarified, and then we can try and make it seem a little bit clearer than what we've just explained there.
Yeah, we'll try. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Do you find it all a little bit confusing and hard to follow, or is it just me?
On to tech news now. We're excited to announce that we have recently just partnered with Ergon Saddles, as beautifully modelled by Mark. You'll see it under his bottom in many videos to come. And mine, exactly. Well, you might have noticed that we have been talking a little bit more about these saddles over the past year, and they've been on some notable athletes' bikes, especially Jan Frodeno's bike.
Yeah, the R&D that goes into Ergon products is actually really quite special and impressive. In fact, we will be featuring some of that in the coming months as we start this partnership with Ergon, which we're very excited about. But in short, they've actually been working on a triathlon-specific saddle for many years now, and we've kind of showcased and leaked bits of this when we spotted Jan Frodeno's bike racked up at Challenge Roth and various places like that, and wondered what's going on. And essentially, they've got a triathlon saddle, gender specific, male and female. We've actually been given the male ones already ahead of their official release. The female ones are due very soon. They've been working on them with Laura Phillip, Imogen Simmons, and other athletes. And we'll be heading to the HQ, getting to see what has gone into those saddles. But yeah, pretty exciting.
Yeah, can't wait to be riding one hopefully soon.
Awesome. Another thing, just more for lols more than anything, spotted that Adidas are now selling their Ultra Boost light shoes for £170 with mud and scuff marks on them already.
I mean, yeah, if you live in the UK, you could be making some money, but can you buy like a plain pair a bit cheaper and take them for one run out round here?
I've got quite a few pair of shoes that I could sell on.
I mean, is it the more mud, the more money? I mean, I'd be doing well if it is.
Yeah.
It's time to take a look at your photos, and we're still rolling on and kind of indulging a little bit in the Christmas spirit, because you guys have sent us in some great pictures of some of your prize presents. And this first one from Jenna, and it is a pretty awesome Christmas present, a brand new Quintana Roo XPR. She's in Pennsylvania, USA, and she says, Santa, watch me work hard for my first Ironman 70.3 this year and treating me to my first official tri-bike for the use for another 70.3 and my first full Ironman in 2024.
Awesome.
Well, it sounds like you deserve it, doesn't it, from those goals? So
that is very cool. I couldn't work out if this was on the same Christmas tree. It looks very similar, but it's not. It's actually from Georgios, from Ontario, Canada, and they have sent in some of their makeshift Christmas decorations, which are finisher medals from Ironman 70.3 Florida from 2023, and I can't see a date on that other one, but clearly it's a previous year, so very cool.
I mean, the 2023 one actually looks a little bit like holly berries in a palm tree or something.
Yeah.
But it looks Christmassy, even though Florida is not naturally what we think of as a traditional British Christmas anyway, or cold Christmas. And this next one is from Bill. I think this might have been just before Christmas, and he's in Madison in Wisconsin. Says fun holiday run with the E3 Triathlon Club teammates, and there's even a pram and little one who's joined them. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool. I like the outfits.
Yeah, good effort.
And finally, this one from Deborah in Thurso, or Terso?
I don't know.
I don't have the luxury of an actual pain cave, so I do my training in front of my living room TV with the fan on and windows open. This time, one of our winter storms was blowing a hoolie outside and inside. I even had hailstones coming in the house. My family loves me.
Oh, well, that's really cool to see that you're working hard. And actually leads us on to the theme for January. We would love to see you guys in your pain cave. So not just your pain cave. We've seen plenty of beautiful pain caves.
Show them off in the photo, but specifically you working out in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're joining us on Zwift, for example, you could share that. That could be a bit of inspiration for you. Get a photo at the same time, join us, and then you might get your photo on the GTN show. Yeah,
don't forget, if you want to upload your photos or videos, use the photo uploader link, which is on screen right now, or in the description down below. Say what? Okay. We've got some great comments under some of the videos from the past couple of weeks. This first one came under, was it our show from last week?
It was from our New Year show when we were talking about our goals for 2024.
Yeah, so Ironman 140.6 said, it would be inspiring if all three of you were to set a goal to become as fit as you were in your pro days. Go for it, guys. Yeah. And what made us chuckle was a response from 3 walking polls. Why do you hate them?
And then we've got Fifth Valiana FR who says they would never be as fit as they were when pros. They have jobs, but it would be nice to see them participate in more big race events. Well, that's a good, bit of motivation.
I can confirm that it would be very hard to get as fit as we were when we were pros.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just the fact we have jobs, we are also older.
Yeah.
I mean, technology's come on, so, they're good. Anyway.
I would love to, now with sort of the technology we have now and sort of also the experience and knowledge that I've gained as well, to actually go back, but I think that sail has... That ship has sailed. Not that sail.
But a few of you have got some suggestions for a big event that Mark could do. This first one from SatX76 says, you put on a great show, always positive and informative and provoking, no matter the pain. I sense a Barclay Marathon in Mark's future from his orienteering comment. And then there's another one here from 3Max who says, Mark starting to train for a Barclay Marathon finish. Now, Mark, I think you should explain what Barclay Marathon is to some people.
The Barclay Marathon is quite a unique event. First of all, it's just a peculiar event to try and enter into and all sorts of things like that. But essentially, you complete laps of this park. It's slightly, it's unmarked, essentially, and you pick up pages from a book as you go around, and each lap you go in opposite direction. You keep going through the night.
And it's not just a park with a few football fields in. This isn't what Mark means by a park.
Yeah,
it's like a national park.
It's a national park, and you have to go through thorns and up and downhill. Yeah, it's pretty wild. It attracts some of the best runners in the world, and they fail quite often. I've always been quite interested in it. I'm not sure if I'm ready for it.
Well,
but
you never know. If Lazarus Lake is listening, you might get an invite. But if you guys are wanting a bit of inspiration and maybe focusing on something a little less crazy and you're potentially entering your first half marathon or you have just done so, we've got a video coming up that is going to be tips for your first half. So keep an eye out for that one. Yeah, and obviously earlier on we mentioned about our 30 and 30, the Zwift 30 and 30 that we're doing over January. If you want to hear a little bit more about that and what we're getting up to, then do go and check our video out that's on the channel already regarding that. Yeah, well, hopefully you've enjoyed our first show back. If you want to support the channel, we'd love it if you gave us a like.